the one person who could play Victor Von Doom.
Tony Stark is Dr. Doom, and Marvel has been hiding this in plain sight for 17 years. Robert Downey Jr. is coming back to the MCU, but he's not returning as Iron Man. He's returning as Victor Von Doom, Dr. Doom, the ruler of Latvaria, and arguably the greatest villain in Marvel Comics history. And here's the kicker. This isn't a multiverse variant. This isn't some alternate timeline Tony. This is our Tony. Earth 616's Tony Stark, the man who snapped Thanos out of existence, is going to become the MCU's ultimate threat. And when you go back and rewatch the Infinity Saga with this knowledge, it's absolutely insane how many clues were there all along. So smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here, and let's break down every single piece of evidence that proves Tony Stark was always destined to become Dr. Doom. Let's get into it. The Stark family curse. Alright, so let's start at the very beginning. The Stark family legacy. Tony doesn't come from just any family. He comes from a lineage of genius inventors who are all morally complicated at best. Howard Stark, Tony's father, was one of the founders of S.H.I.E.L.D., a weapons manufacturer, and a man absolutely obsessed with power and control. In Captain America Civil War, we learn Howard was murdered by the Winter Soldier while transporting something to the Pentagon. And what was it? A recreation of the Super Soldier Serum. Think about that. Howard was trying to create more Captain Americas, more enhanced humans under government control. This obsession with control, with building weapons and systems to protect the world, it runs in the Stark DNA. Howard built weapons of mass destruction. Tony built Iron Man, and both of them believed the ends justified the means, that their vision was the right one, that they knew better than everyone else. Sound familiar? That's literally Victor Von Doom's entire philosophy. Doom genuinely believes he's the only person capable of saving the world, that his vision is the only correct path, and that any price is worth paying to achieve it. Tony inherited that arrogance from Howard. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Iron Man, the birth of a dictator. Now let's rewind all the way back to 2008. Iron Man, the movie that started everything. When you watch Tony's journey in that film through this lens, it hits completely different. Tony gets captured by terrorists, forced to build weapons, and instead he builds the Mark I suit and escapes. When he gets back to America, what's the first thing he does? He shuts down Stark Industries' weapons division and declares that he will personally protect the world. And then comes that legendary moment at the end of the movie. Tony's supposed to read a prepared statement, deny being Iron Man, but instead he looks directly into the cameras and says those three words: I am Iron Man. Everyone celebrated that moment as Tony taking responsibility, being honest, becoming a hero. But look at it from another angle. Tony Stark just announced to the entire world that he, personally, is now the most powerful weapon on the planet. Not the government, not S.H.I.E.L.D., not the military, him. One man with the power to level entire buildings, to fly anywhere in the world, to eliminate anyone he chooses. And he answers to absolutely no one. That's not a superhero origin story. That's the origin of a dictator. Throughout the Iron Man trilogy, Tony keeps building more and more suits. By Iron Man 3, he's got the Mark 42, which can operate completely autonomously. He creates the Iron Legion, dozens of remote-controlled suits that can enforce his will anywhere on Earth. And then in Age of Ultron, he does something even more dangerous. He creates an artificial intelligence specifically designed to protect the world, Ultron. And what's Ultron's first conclusion after achieving sentience? That humanity must be destroyed to save the Earth. Why? Because that's what Tony programmed into its core. That peace must be achieved at any cost. That one superior intelligence should control everything. That the ends always justify the means. Tony created Ultron in his own image, and Ultron nearly ended the world. Civil War, Doom's political game. Civil War is where things get really interesting. The Sokovia Accords get introduced, international laws designed to regulate superhuman activity and put the Avengers under government oversight. And who's the biggest supporter of the Accords? Tony Stark. Steve Rogers fights against them. He argues that governments have agendas, that oversight can be weaponized, that heroes need freedom to act when it matters most. But Tony takes the opposite position. He argues the Avengers are dangerous unchecked, that they need rules and restrictions, that they should operate within the system. On the surface, this looks like character growth, like Tony learning from his mistakes with Ultron, becoming more humble, accepting accountability. But think about it from Dr. Doom's perspective for a second. Doom doesn't oppose control and order. He just believes he should be the one in control. The Sokovia Accords aren't about limiting Tony's power. They're about legitimizing it, making his vision the actual law. After Civil War ends, who's still standing? Steve Rogers is a fugitive running from the law. The Avengers are completely fractured. And Tony Stark? He's working directly with the United Nations, with world governments, with the entire global power structure. He's not a vigilante anymore. He's part of the system. And more importantly, he's influencing that system from the inside. That's exactly how Doom operates in the comics. He doesn't just conquer through brute force. He conquers through politics, through influence, through making himself so indispensable to the existing power structure that he eventually becomes the power structure. Infinity War. Meeting his equal. Infinity War shows us Tony at his absolute most desperate. Thanos is coming to Earth. The fate of the entire universe is at stake, and Tony is willing to do literally anything to stop him. On Titan, Tony fights Thanos one-on-one, and he actually does something incredible. He makes the Mad Titan bleed, and Thanos himself is genuinely impressed. He looks at Tony with actual respect and says, "You have my respect, Stark. When I'm done, half of humanity will still be alive. I hope they remember you." Now, why would Thanos, of all people, respect Tony? Because on some fundamental level, they're the same. Both believe they're the only ones capable of saving the universe. Both are willing to sacrifice anything and anyone to achieve their vision. Both see themselves as the universe's savior. Tony loses that fight. He has to watch Peter Parker literally disintegrate in his arms. He spends the next 5 years living with the knowledge that he failed, that half of all life died because he wasn't strong enough, wasn't smart enough, wasn't in enough control. That kind of trauma fundamentally changes a person. It creates obsession. It creates the unshakable belief that failure can never be allowed to happen again, that control must be absolute. Endgame, death and transformation. Endgame is where everything changes forever. The Avengers pull off the time heist. They bring everyone back from the snap. But then Thanos from 2014 shows up with his entire army, ready to destroy this universe and rebuild it from scratch. And Tony Stark makes the ultimate sacrifice. He takes all 6 Infinity Stones, snaps his fingers, and erases Thanos and his entire army from existence. And then Tony Stark dies. Except, what if he didn't? Not completely. Here's where the theory gets wild. What if Tony Stark's consciousness didn't actually die when his body gave out? What if the Infinity Stones, literally the most powerful objects in the entire universe, somehow preserved his mind, his intellect, his very essence? Think about it. The stones don't just grant raw power. They grant understanding of the universe itself. The Soul Stone reveals the fundamental nature of existence. The Mind Stone massively expands consciousness. The Reality Stone lets you literally reshape the fabric of the universe. When Tony wielded all 6 Infinity Stones at once, even if only for a few seconds, he experienced something beyond human comprehension. He saw every possible future across every timeline. He understood the fundamental mechanics of reality itself, and what he saw absolutely broke him. Because Tony realized something horrifying. The Avengers' victory over Thanos was only temporary. Threats would keep coming. Kang the Conqueror, Galactus, cosmic entities beyond imagination. No matter how many times the heroes won, the universe would always be in constant danger, unless someone took permanent, absolute control. The multiversal wound. The multiverse saga has introduced us to the concept of incursions, catastrophic events where two universes literally collide and destroy each other. We saw this in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and it's going to be a major plot point going forward. Now here's where it gets absolutely insane. What if Tony's snap didn't just kill Thanos and his army? What if using all 6 stones to rewrite reality on that scale created a massive wound in the multiverse itself? A cosmic scar that's been slowly spreading across every single timeline? The TVA in Loki exists specifically to prevent the multiverse from completely collapsing. But their methods are absolutely brutal. They prune entire timelines, literally erasing billions of lives just to maintain stability. What if Tony, in some kind of disembodied consciousness state, has been observing all of this? What if he's watched the TVA's methods and come to a terrifying realization that they're actually right? That sometimes entire realities must be sacrificed for the greater good. That's Doctor Doom's philosophy in the comics. Doom has literally seen the future across infinite timelines, and he knows that in every single timeline where he doesn't rule with absolute authority, the universe collapses into complete chaos. So he believes his dictatorship isn't just justified, it's cosmically necessary for survival. Latvaria, the Kingdom of Stark. Let's talk about Latvaria. In the comics, Latvaria is Doctor Doom's kingdom, this small Eastern European nation that Doom rules with absolute authority, transforming it into a technologically advanced society. In the MCU, Latvaria hasn't been mentioned at all, until now. It's been officially confirmed that Latvaria will appear in Avengers Doomsday. So here's the theory. After Tony's death in Endgame, Stark Industries didn't just disappear. All of his technology, his patents, his AI systems, his manufacturing capabilities, all of that still exists somewhere, and someone has been using it. What if Latvaria in the MCU is actually built on the foundation of Stark technology? Or even more specifically, what if Tony's consciousness, somehow preserved by the Infinity Stones, has been slowly rebuilding itself in Latvaria, using Stark tech as the foundation? Think about Doctor Doom's armor in the comics. It's this perfect fusion of advanced technology and mystical power. In the MCU, Tony already mastered the technology side, and after wielding all 6 Infinity Stones, he now has direct knowledge of forces that go beyond science. Reality manipulation, cosmic awareness, the fundamental code of existence itself. Latvaria could literally be Tony's new Stark Tower, the place where he's been rebuilding himself piece by piece, preparing for his return to the world stage. The evidence in Far From Home. Spider-Man Far From Home takes place right after Endgame. The entire world is mourning Tony Stark. Peter Parker is desperately trying to live up to his mentor's legacy. And then Mysterio shows up with his elaborate plan. Mysterio's entire scheme revolves around using Tony's technology, specifically the Edith system, which stands for Even Dead, I'm the Hero, to create massive illusions and position himself as the next Iron Man. But here's what's really interesting about Edith. It's an AI system with complete access to Stark Industries' entire arsenal. Thousands of weaponized drones, global surveillance networks, satellite systems. And Tony left all of that power to Peter Parker, a 16-year-old kid. Why would he do that? One theory is that Tony knew Peter wouldn't actually use that kind of power. Tony knew Peter's moral compass wouldn't allow him to become what Tony was becoming. But what if that was actually the test? What if Tony needed to see that his technology would inevitably fall into the wrong hands? That the world fundamentally can't be trusted with the kind of power he created? Mysterio was a disgruntled former Stark Industries employee. He felt betrayed and discarded by Tony, and he used Tony's own technology to nearly destroy Peter and frame him for murder in front of the entire world. This could be Tony's ultimate proof that the world can't handle power, that only he should control it. The armor evolution. Let's track Tony's armor progression throughout the MCU because it's actually really important. Mark 1. Built in that cave with literal scraps. Bulky, crude, but it worked. Mark 50 in Infinity War. Full nanotechnology. The entire suit is stored in his arc reactor and can form instantly around his body, reshape itself, mid-battle, create any weapon Tony can imagine. Mark 85 in Endgame. Even more advanced nanotech, specifically designed to channel the power of all 6 Infinity Stones without killing him instantly. Now look at Doctor Doom's armor in the comics. It's this seamless fusion of technology and mysticism, practically indestructible, channeling both cutting-edge science and ancient magical forces. The MCU has been steadily evolving Tony's armor toward that exact endpoint. The nanotech suits are already halfway there. They're not just machines anymore. They're extensions of Tony's will, responding to his thoughts, instantly adapting to any threat. The only thing missing is the mystical component. And if Tony's consciousness was preserved and transformed by the Infinity Stones, he now has access to exactly that. The man behind the mask. Here's probably the most important clue. In the comics, Doctor Doom always wears his iconic metal mask to hide his horribly scarred face. But here's the thing. Doom's scars actually aren't even that bad. He wears the mask because of pure pride, his absolute refusal to accept any imperfection in himself. Tony Stark is exactly the same way. He's an egotist. He's vain. He needs to be the smartest person in every room. He can't accept failure or imperfection. When Kevin Feige announced that Robert Downey Jr. was returning to play Doctor Doom, everyone immediately started asking the same question. Will we see his face? Or will he always be behind the mask? And this is why this casting is absolutely brilliant. If Tony Stark becomes Doctor Doom, he literally can't show his face to the world, because everyone would immediately recognize him as Tony Stark, as Iron Man, as the beloved Avenger who died saving the universe. The mask isn't just a costume choice. It's an absolute necessity. Tony has to hide his identity because the instant the world discovers that Tony Stark became Doctor Doom, everything changes forever. Just imagine this scene. The Avengers are fighting Doom. They're losing badly. Finally, someone, maybe Captain Marvel, maybe Thor, manages to tear off his mask in the middle of battle. And underneath is Tony Stark's face. Not a variant from another universe. Not a Skrull imposter. Not a clone. The real Tony Stark. Their Tony. The man who saved the entire universe by sacrificing himself. And he looks at all of them and says something like, I told you in Ultron that we would lose if we didn't work together. So I'm making sure we never lose again. I'm taking control. All of it. The thematic perfection. From a pure storytelling perspective, Tony becoming Doom is absolutely perfect. It completes his entire character arc across the Infinity Saga. Tony started as this arms dealer who genuinely didn't care about the consequences of his weapons. He became Iron Man to try to protect the world from those consequences. He created Ultron and nearly destroyed everything. He supported the Sokovia Accords and completely tore the Avengers apart. He sacrificed his own life to save the universe from Thanos. And after all of that sacrifice, after giving absolutely everything he had, the world is still in constant danger. The multiverse is actively collapsing. Kang variants are waging war across timelines. Incursions are destroying entire realities. So Tony reaches the same conclusion that Doom always reaches in the comics. If I don't control everything, everyone dies. It's the ultimate corruption of the hero's journey. Tony starts out genuinely wanting to do good in the world. He ends up believing he's the only one who can do good. And that belief, that certainty, transforms him into a tyrant. What this means for the MCU pilots. If Tony Stark actually is Doctor Doom, it fundamentally changes everything about the MCU going forward. The Avengers won't just be fighting some new villain. They'll be fighting their former teammate, their friend, the man who literally saved all of their lives. Every single appearance Tony made in the Infinity Saga, every decision he made, every argument he had, it all becomes retroactive, foreshadowing for his eventual fall from grace. Robert Downey Jr.'s return isn't just nostalgic fan service. It's the culmination of a 17-year character arc that we didn't even realize was happening. And here's the absolute darkest part of this theory. Doctor Doom might actually be right. In the comics, Doom has used cosmic power to look at every single possible future across infinite timelines. And he's discovered that humanity only survives in one future, the timeline where Doom rules with absolute authority. What if Tony, after wielding all 6 Infinity Stones, saw exactly the same thing? What if he looked across infinite possibilities and realized that the only way to actually save the multiverse from complete collapse is to conquer it completely? That's the fundamental tragedy of Doctor Doom as a character. He's not wrong about the threats. He's not wrong that the universe is in constant danger. He's just wrong about the solution. He believes that freedom and choice are luxuries the universe can't afford anymore. The final verdict. So is Tony Stark actually Doctor Doom in the MCU? All the clues are there. All the foreshadowing has been carefully laid out across multiple films. The thematic setup is absolutely perfect for this transformation. But here's what makes this theory so compelling, regardless of whether it's literally true or not. Even if Tony isn't Doom, the MCU has still been building toward this fundamental idea. That unchecked power, even when wielded by heroes with good intentions, inevitably leads to tyranny and control. Tony Stark saved the universe by snapping his fingers, and in doing so, he may have set himself on the path to becoming the greatest threat that universe has ever faced. When Avengers Doomsday finally releases, we'll get our definitive answer. But until then, I want you to go back and rewatch Iron Man, rewatch the entire Infinity Saga, and pay attention to every single scene with Tony Stark. Because the man in that armor was always just one bad day, one cosmic revelation, one moment of absolute certainty away from becoming Doctor Doom. And that day has finally come. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is Tony actually Doom, or am I completely reaching here? Don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our MCU breakdowns.